But when I tell you there wasn't enough Delulu, all right, to keep my therapist in business for the next century, okay? What's up, everybody? Welcome back for a brand new episode of the Lone Limit Podcast. I'm your host, Chelsie. This is your host, Jay. And
hey.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Yes.
Season is winding down.
Yeah.
Mentally, I don't know how we got here. Calendar-wise, I understand. I see it. It makes sense. The math is mathing. But in terms of the amount of reading we've had to do, I'm impressed that the mood reader in me actually stayed the course.
What's crazy too is like the amount of reading that we've done, and we started in the summerish time. When did we start the podcast?
You're
I
done.
don't remember, but
You're done.
We've read a lot for you guys.
So Jay, should we tell them the surprise or should we hold off? I feel like we should hold off, right?
I don't even know what the surprise is.
Guys, I need a new co-host because every week we have conversations and as soon as the camera turns on, she just forgets everything.
I don't know what's going on. I just be here, y'all. I know I read the book and I just be here. That's it. Actually, I do way more than that, but that's what it's like when I start recording. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I did that.
In all fairness, though, I did read this week's book so fast that come Friday,
you forgot.
I forgot. The fear that struck me when I was getting ready for bed, and my brain said, hey, don't you have a podcast to record?
When you sent me that message, I cracked up because I was like, wait a minute. And I was like, girl, don't let her freak you out like that.
I literally said, what book were we supposed to read? What?
Nah, you really had me questioning, wait, did I read the wrong book in the wrong order? Yeah, no, we're all good. We're all good.
My brain's not okay right now. So I feel like, let's just ease into things. Right?
I like easing. Let's ease on down the road into the podcast. Yes.
Thank you, Wiz.
I'm a fan.
Let's play a little game I introduced a little while back called Red Flag, Green Flag.
Okay.
Now,
I like the game, but I'm so nervous.
Don't be nervous. I just used books off my shelf to figure out if it was a red flag or a green flag. That's all.
That makes me even more nervous. What?
All right, let's start with an easy one, okay?
Okay.
Red flag or green flag? He doesn't tell you he's a werewolf until after he's made you fall in love with him. Red flag or green flag?
Red flag?
She says unsure.
Well, because it's a weird situation. For me, that's a red flag, but that's also a very weird situation. Is she supposed to have context clues that he's a werewolf? Does he randomly howl at the moon and she thought he was joking? I think I would need more context, but I think that's a red flag. I feel like you're processing that and you're just like, who is this person?
I'm just really curious, what werewolf books you be reading? Because,
none.
Who be howling at the moon?
Wolf Gone Wild is that and Twilight. All right, for you, is that a red flag or a green flag?
It's a yellow flag.
Nah, we ain't playing soccer. Get out of here.
Because here's the thing, right? It makes sense that you want to make sure that I'm all in before you tell your deepest, darkest secret, So that I'm not just running out in these streets telling everybody. But at the same time, if I couldn't figure out that something was a little off, something's wrong with me. Because if you haven't figured out that I pick up on clues everywhere,
it's a red flag for me. But at the same time, I also feel like if you're at that level where you're ready to fall in love with someone, you should probably know some of their tendencies and maybe ask some questions. So
I also think it'd just be so lit to have a werewolf
as a
boyfriend. Yeah. Like, think about how strong he would be.
Ooh, plus. That's a plus.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
but I'm thinking like the most like practical things for such a ridiculous situation. I'm just like, but like the grocery bill would be crazy.
Not necessarily.
Why not? Oh, is he gonna hunt? So that's free food, actually. We can control some populations, like equal out the ecosystem. Like, listen, that's sustainability right there.
Take a trip to Africa, let him go get his own fresh gazelle. Like, live your best life, boo boo. I'll be at the resort.
I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit too exotic. Like, what if he's a prey in Africa?
I don't think he'd be prey in Africa.
I don't know. Them safaris look scary.
All right, you know, we have gotten way too far off course. I'm not even going to entertain that because purely for the fact of like, this isn't real. This isn't real.
Listen, I'm gonna find a way to make it logistical, some way, somehow.
Don't do that. This is for fun. This is for fun. Let's stay in the Delulu, okay? Fun. Not practicality. Practicality is not fun. Delulu is fun. Delulu.
Okay. What's my next scenario?
Red flag or green flag? He's a widow, but there's mystery circumstances surrounding his dead wife's death.
Red flag. Red flag. Red flag. What? Because am I finna be next? I don't like this. I do not like this. I was gonna ask you what's yours, but your smirk is already telling me.
It's not that it's a green flag. I just am intrigued. I need to know more, you know? Like, is it like she just like walked off into the sun one day and disappeared? Or like people think you did it, you know?
I mean, in either situation, no.
Like, I want to know more before I decide if it's a red flag or green flag.
Okay, that's valid. For me, no. I'm good. I don't need any more details. Live your best life, sir. Away from me. I'm gonna be safe. I'm gonna say that right now. I'm gonna get home at night. Every night. We ain't playing those games.
I need to know more.
Like, your curiosity for the morally gray is like hilarious to me. Cause I'm like, I don't like shady. That's too shady.
And I want to know why. What's going on?
For the sake of the fact that I love drama that's not mine, give me a recap afterwards, but I'm not gonna be involved.
You're too scary. Like, I'd call you and you'd be like, no! Hang up on me. You'd be like, I don't need to know this. I'm trying to go to bed right now. I do not need to know this. And I'd be like, damn, you wasn't even going to try and come save me?
My friend is staying with me, and she was like telling me a story. And I said, hold up, before you finish this story, will I be able to sleep at night? And she was like, I'll tell you it tomorrow. I said, there we go.
Man. So annoying. I feel like, bro, can I just tell you the things?
Yes, but you just have to filter out the scary so you can tell me partial stories.
By the end of season 2, the way I plan to push you out of your comfort zone and find a new comfort zone, it's not even funny.
It'll be really interesting to see if you're successful, though, because I feel like you have opened up a couple of little portals, little portals, where I'm like, okay, I'm more open to this than I thought I was previously. But then there's other ones where I'm like, yeah, this is exactly why I don't go fishing in this pond. So,
fair.
Do you fish in ponds? I mean...
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Okay, great. Okay, I wasn't sure. I haven't fished in, like... You know what?
You're not an outside person. You're a city person. Anyways.
I am. Yeah. Outside got outside.
Red flag or green flag? He's your ex-boyfriend's dad, and he has a dom kink.
Okay. Wait. You know I struggle with trees.
Your ex's
boyfriend's dad And what?
He has a dom kink.
Oh, that's a green flag. That's a green flag. Yeah, that's a green flag. Because you would assume the daddy got daddy vibes. So that's a green flag.
Look at you. You just go, yeah, that's a green flag.
That's green. That's green. I don't see no problems with that one. That's a green flag. Listen, I'm at the age I can date you or your daddy. Don't play games with me.
I can't.
Oh God, it sounds like this. Where I'm like, my mama watches this podcast.
Yo, the next time I see your mom, she's just gonna be like, "Don't have my daughter out here in these streets like this again."
All right, for you, red or green?
In this case, it's a green flag because I wrote these based off of books on my shelf.
I mean, if you said red, I'd have been like, I don't even know who you are right now.
Shit, I might have dated him just to get to his daddy.
Wait, what?
Nothing. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Internet, I am kidding.
Girl.
I got a bonus one for you, and this one's just for you.
All right.
Red flag, green flag. He isn't a Gallagher girl.
Aw. That's a tough one. Okay. I feel like this is a yellow. If you said yellow, I'm going to say yellow too. I think this is a yellow. Because... actually, it might be red. It might be... I think it's red. Ooh, that's a red flag. Yeah. Listen. Allie Carter has created a fantastic community that definitely helps weed people in and out. So, red flag.
CJ, it wasn't that terrible. It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't. It really wasn't. We're just going to go ahead and swipe that part out so Mom can't see it. No, you know what? We're gonna give her a special edition of the podcast.
There we go. She's gonna be like, why can't I watch this one on YouTube? Don't worry about it. Just click this link instead.
Just use this very special link just for you.
So, I use some books off my shelf. Like, for example, he's a widow, but there's mysterious circumstances surrounding his wife's death. That is Rebecca, which was a wild murder mystery. I was like, what's going on? He's your ex-boyfriend's dad, but he has a certain kink. That is Praise, which I've recommended on the podcast before.
Okay.
But writing these made me think, Jay. I think my shelf makes it very clear that there are certain tropes that I like, and there are certain tropes that I like. So I'm curious, Jay, what are some tropes you like and some that you absolutely hate? And one of them is very clear on this list, but go ahead, share it with me.
I will say, I feel like if you've listened to any of the previous episodes, you know the answer to both of this. Okay, I'm gonna go with not like first, because just to get that out the way, and that is surprise pregnancy. I have such a low tolerance for it.
And yet you've read 2 books this year with surprise pregnancy in them. The irony.
I'll say something when I do like. I love fake dating. I feel like I'm such a fake dating fan. I think it's so adorable. I feel like conversations of like lavender marriages has been popping off recently, and I think that's hilarious because I'm just like, y'all don't consider it, but that is fake dating. They just, with a contract, so
right.
What are yours?
I'm trying to think of some that I haven't talked about on the podcast before. And I gotta say, if we're gonna talk about one that I dislike, when I tell you I dislike this with my whole chest.
Mm-hmm.
And I have accidentally bought books with this trope in it.
Mm-hmm.
I hate a slow burn.
Okay,
Like,
first of all, you hating slow burns has literally stopped me from recommending you so many books that I feel like you would love, but I know you would hate. And it's just like so frustrating.
well, here's the thing. Like, if it's a slow burn, but there's a lot of other chaos happening, I can get on board. But if the whole book centers around a slow burn romance, just come outside. Let's talk. Let's come outside. I just want to talk. Come outside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love a good slow burn. It has to be done well. But yeah, I think they're cute. It's very, for me, if you had to do a slow burn in a city, I'm very confused by those. But I think like slow burns like belong in a small town. Like I hope that's not disrespectful to small towns, but I love a slow burn in a small town.
That's fair. Like the Bromance Book Club, that was a slow burn, but it made sense. There was a lot of other things we needed to focus on. That was a slow burn. He's getting a divorce to try to win his wife back.
Did we fight about this already? Because okay, I'm sure. Okay, I disagree, but okay.
Listen, I will pull that book out right now and figure out when they actually decided to start hooking up again. And I promise you, we are mid-book by then.
Okay, so you're saying like after the 50% mark? That's what you
Yes.
Okay, that wasn't my definition, but okay. By that,
what is a slow burn?
Yes. I mean, it has to be like 75% plus, and like all you get is a kiss. They slow. I don't like
the way I just almost closed my computer. The urge to just shut this down and be like, "You've lost it," and then I had to remind myself that we are doing a podcast.
I love how you just like, nah, we regular fighting right now.
Like, really, I forgot about the podcast for like 2 seconds, Jay, because I was like, yo, you've lost it. If it's a slow burn and you're telling me that I have to wait until 75% just to
it's not even having to wait. It's a slow burn. That's how they tell the story. So what are you talking about? It's essentially, I consider slow burns to be like Hallmark movie in a book.
But at that point, don't go in the romance section. You should not be in the romance section. Ooh. If I gotta wait 75% of a book, girl, just for you to kiss. I want romance.
Sometimes, right? It's a holding a hand. Like, listen, you don't know what you gonna get first.
If I have to read 75% of a book just for them to hold hands, the last 25% better be an HBO After Dark special. If I showed up for a romance and it's a slow burn and I gotta wait that long, you better bring it in those pages.
And this is where we come back to, this is why I can't recommend any slow burns to Chelsie, because she will literally fight me.
Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Yeah. I'm not reading any of those. No.
There's like so many good ones too. But I just know I can't. Yeah, it's fine.
The way I would throw those books at you, I would.
Okay, so you can't stand a slow burn. Yeah. What's the trope that you actually like?
I'm trying to think of what that's, because I'm trying to think of what that's not blatantly obvious.
To who?
To everybody. Like, obviously, I love me a good alpha, you know.
Okay.
Obviously, I like a little schmurder. But I'm trying to really think. I would definitely say, like, actual enemies to lovers. We're not getting into the fight of what that is, Jay. We've already done it once.
Yes.
But, like, a good enemies to lover, like, where they are out to destroy each other.
Mm-hmm.
That build up, that right there, you know, me just watching them just like set each other's lives on fire. Thank you.
Rocking with it?
I'm here for it. Here for it.
I would like to kind of piggyback on mine. we all know I hate surprise pregnancy. We've known this from like the second episode of the show. I have learned, and I know this more so from TV, but I think it applies as well. I don't love stories that are told with like a lot of flashbacks either. Like that kind of annoys me a little bit because I'm like,
that's not a piggyback. You're just adding another one to the list, Jay.
We're not gonna fight about it. What a piggyback is right
now. A piggyback would be like, I hate surprise pregnancy, especially when they act like they're confused on how they got there. That's
okay,
a piggyback.
I'm ignoring you. Okay, so yeah, I've learned I don't love
me.
when
I'm right
things.
Here.
Girl. Just close.
What was that? What was it?
You know, like when you're in a doctor's office. Okay, anyway, yeah, I find like I don't like it. Like I think one or two like well-informing flashbacks are great to give you background to a character or to a situation. But like if you do more than that, multiples, characters, and time jumps, I'm like, I feel like I need a calculator and a calendar, and I get very confused. Also, I feel like we haven't read a ton of them this season, but we have done a few, and I don't think I love second chance romances.
I feel like it depends on why it's a second chance romance. Like,
I think that's valid.
With like Bromance Book Club, it makes sense on why I would categorize that as a second chance romance. We both enjoyed that one, right?
Yes. Interesting. I wouldn't consider that is. It is, but I really wouldn't consider that because it was like still active. Like they weren't officially divorced yet. They were still actively trying to figure out the relationship.
Yes. Now, are there others where I just be like, he's garbage, if we want to get fancy with it?
Yeah.
And he's trying to redeem himself. No. Go to your dumpster home. You know, tell what's his name? Not Grover, but the other one to just slide over and make some space for you. I don't want that kind of a second chance romance. Now, if something has torn y'all apart, years have gone by, and you bumped back into each other, I'm here for that. That redemption arc, I need it. Okay? Like, I'm about to read...
I think I agree with you. I think it has to have a distinction. Because, like, when we did Love Utley, that's a second chance romance. Like, neither were really at fault. I'm very mad at them about not trying emails. But, like, it was a miscommunication and an assumption as to why they weren't together. It wasn't, like, because either one of them were trash or toxic to each other. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think that if there's a specific distinction, I can rock with it. But otherwise, I'm just like... is a reason why it didn't work the first time. Why are we trying this again? Like, granted, time has passed. You can be different people. But sometimes I'm just like...
But it better come with a happily ever after. If you give me a second chance romance and they just don't work out in the end, I'll be like, so then why did I just read 300 pages of a book? Like,
yeah.
Why'd you waste my time?
I'm very pro HEA.
Yes. Speaking of things that you're pro... I like your face. It's very concerned right now of just like, where you going with this?
Trying to figure it out. Keep talking.
Speaking of things that you're pro at this moment, what are some book recs that you would like to share with the people? This week we read allegedly an alpha story. Allegedly.
Not allegedly.
I'll share my thoughts in a moment.
Okay, counsel.
Allegedly. So what are some good alpha recs for the people? Because if you ask me, today's book is not going to be on my list.
Ooh. I think you should go first because I think I just came in squeaked in that these count. So why don't you go first?
I feel like it should be a gradient. You start off with them, and then I finish it
with the softer alphas. Okay, I'll go first. Okay, so my first book is Wicked Lust by Sawyer Bennett, and it is actually the second. Pretty sure it's the second book in the series
of
the Wicked Horse series. and you have the head of security for a bar that has like a secret club attached. And in this book, you have a journalist from out of town that is trying to figure out like who's on the member list and what happens in the secret club. So she goes out with the head of the security department to try and get information. And it, whew, like buckle up, saddle up. I don't know what you do with the horses, but it's a ride. I think it's saddle. It's saddle. It's definitely saddle.
As someone who is mid reading it right now, I can tell you that's a great rec for today.
Ooh. I feel like I probably should have had a snack before we recorded. Okay. My next rec.
What is it?
I feel like when I'm hungry, our recordings are always a little more weird. Okay. My next rec is The Wiener Across the Way by Amy Award. And why are you laughing?
I just
Laughing? I didn't name the book, y'all. It makes sense if you read the series.
I know it makes sense, but I forgot that that was going to be your second pick. So when you just said a wiener, I just went, wait, what?
I literally said I forgot how you spell wiener earlier, and you didn't click. Okay, anyway, it's I before E except after C, which I was reminded of because I kept trying to flip them. Anyway, so yeah, The Wiener Across the Way by Amy Award. And if you are a fan of the whole like Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift kind of like romance happening in the football pop culture world, okay, it's
Give me football back. Taylor Swift, you have everything else. Give me football back.
ignoring you. It is kind of like roughly inspired on that kind of like journey of what can happen. And so I really love this book. It is the second book. Oh, I did 2 second books in the series. It is the second book of the Cocky Kingman series. And so the brother is the professional football player, and the female main character is like the it pop star, and they meet organically, which is what I loved about it. So they meet organically. He saves her dog, which is a wiener dog, hence the title. Saves her like wiener dog from like a snake or something. Some animal was trying to eat it, and so that's how they organically met. His younger sister is a big fan. So much chaos ensues. Publicists with agendas, travel schedules because she got to work, he got to work different states all the time. Ooh, yeah, it was a really, really good book. It has a lot of vulnerability to it, actually, and it has a very like unchaotic center, even though chaos is going all around. So I just really like the way that it was written and the story that it was told, and I really enjoyed it. Both of my alphas are like, I don't want to call them softer alphas, but I don't know.
I'm just curious how he's an alpha, but you know what? You gotta read the book to
You
figure
gotta
it
read
out.
the book.
That's all
I
I'm
think
saying.
he's an alpha. I mean, I don't really know what an alpha is, but I think he's an alpha.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I'm scared of
good?
yours. Yours are gonna make me want
Why
to
are you
hide.
scared of mine?
Yours are gonna make me want to lock all my doors, do the deadbolts, everything.
I picked safe ones today, thank you very much.
Okay.
Kind of. My first one is called The Director by Renee Rose. How do I put this safe for the internets? Our female main character has a night out at a special kind of club, and protection breaks. This ain't for you. Don't worry about it. So she decides to keep the baby but not tell him. Because he is the head boss of the Bratva, which is like the Russian mafia. And so 6 months later, he coincidentally shows up at her law office for legal work, and finds out that she is carrying his child, and says, I'm gonna just take charge here. Moves her out of her apartment without her say so, moves her into his apartment, and says, this is how we gonna run this show. And I said, thank you, sir. Thank you. The look on your face, you could just fix it. That'd be
I don't
great.
need to. It's accurate.
For what? Why is it accurate?
My displeasure.
With what?
I don't, not a, it's just not my thing, that's all.
You look so miserable. Moving along. Moving along.
Miserable. It's just as soon as you kind of mentioned like two things in the star, I was like, yeah, that's not for me. Then I checked out.
My second recommendation is going to be Latte Darling by S.J. Tilly.
Okay.
Does this woman run my life? Yes, but we're going to move on beyond that. Our female main character swipes right on a guy and shows up for their date. But he doesn't show up. His dad does. Yeah, exactly. And Daddy Axel is very much a take charge kind of guy, okay? And I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say anything that she needs, don't worry about it, sweetheart. He got it. He got it. I'm gonna leave it at that. Just
I think that's
go do
good.
that.
I think that's good.
Yeah. You still mad about my first pick. It's okay.
I'm not. It's actually, I'm listening to yours and now I'm like really trying to figure out if Vite is actually alpha. I think he is though. He is. He's just not like...
Kane from Wicked Lust is absolutely an alpha. All right.
Okay, so then, yeah. So, okay, yeah. The wiener across the way is an alpha too, all right? He's just... Yes, he is. I'm trying to convince myself. He is. I just wouldn't have thought about it initially.
While you're debating that, maybe we should debate some other stuff. How do you feel about that?
What are we debating now?
Today's book.
Oh, great. Yay.
Could you not?
All right. This week we read Holiday Intrusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By Nora Ash.
Yes. And this silence says everything. For the both of us.
The silence is loud.
It is deafening.
All
right, so here's the deal. We have Eve, who works at a customer support center. And she's working late one night when she's determined to to make her train. And so she has to take the special elevator that's only for CEOs and the top wigs. And she accidentally gets stuck in the elevator with the owner of the company, Adam. And to be honest, Nora, we didn't need 4 chapters to get us there. Okay. 4 chapters. What are you writing? A fantasy novel? What's happening?
I mean, I felt like I could be an elevator engineer by the time we were out of the elevator. Like, it was just so...
I didn't mind them getting trapped in the elevator together. I thought that was a cute meet cute. Okay? I'll say that.
You thought that was cute?
I thought in terms of like a meet cute, like being late at night, getting caught on the elevator and not supposed to be on by the owner of the company. Like, it could be cute. It could be cute.
Okay.
I thought her reaction to getting stuck in the elevator was hilarious. You know, her trying to make small talk with this man, that was funny. Him throwing a tantrum and calling people and hanging up on them, demanding they fix an elevator in 5 minutes or less, hilarious to me, because that's not how life works. And then when the elevator turned back on and they got to the lobby and she booked it out of there, I thought that was funny.
Okay.
Thoughts, feelings, concerns?
I didn't find it funny. I'm glad she made her train.
Which is wild because you definitely texted me and you said that you thought it was funny that she gave the wrong name.
Oh, I did. I actually did like that. I thought that was smart on the spot thinking. I thought that was very intelligent. Because she was just like, this man gonna fire me, so I'm not gonna tell him who I is. Yeah, I thought that was like smart on the spot thinking. I thought that was crafty.
then I don't know if my brain blinked it out, but it's how many days later that she goes on vacation for Christmas? Is it like a day or two?
I think it's like a day or two, because she has to go to work the next day, and she was worried that like they weren't gonna let her in the building, that she was already gonna be fired. She gets through that work day, and that was Christmas Eve, I believe. Yes. And then she goes home. So it's
she
like
goes home to find an intruder in her house. Mm-hmm. And I knew this was the moment Jay was gonna check out. If she made it through the elevator part, this coming home to an intruder in the house was definitely where Jay was gonna go. All right, strike one. Strike one.
First of all, get out my head. Yeah, that was accurate. It wasn't the first strike, but it was a main strike, yeah.
But this is... Okay, so this book is supposed to be in the Omega-verse, which, for me, fine. All right, I get it. Werewolves, all the nonsense. I'm here for it. Mm-hmm. But this is where it started to feel like a Wattpad sort of situation where they upload it chapter by chapter. Mm-hmm. And the chaos just keeps going and going and going, which is the exact representation of what happens, because the intruder offers Eve the werewolf equivalent of an indecent proposal.
Yes, it definitely was giving them the movie vibes, and I was kind of just like, okay, he is like a full-on intruder, like mask, like grab you from behind, like scared for your life in your own home. So it was kind of weird to me that like literally after tying her up, he's like, oh, I'll make a deal with you. I was kind of like, and it was like, oh, because of your tears. I was like, sir, what is happening?
So it was like the way she wrote it was like he's an alpha, and alphas are kind of unhinged when they find the woman they want. They don't really take no for an answer. And in this case, Adam was out here purring in a way that called to her. I'm going to tell you right now, that was not attractive to me. It was actually the opposite. I was mentally imagining a cat, and it was...
I actually could not figure out the purring. I was just like, I'm confused. And I was just like, is his chest just rumbling?
Essentially?
I struggled with the purring too. So
then
it's interesting that you said that it's kind of like Wattpad-ish energy, and to me that actually makes more sense the way that it comes off. Mm-hmm. Like literally one of my notes was like, that was so much time for an elevator ride, and it was just like one of those things where it was just like, I don't want to say that it was dragging, but it was like, I don't want to be
Jay. Yeah. This was the equivalent of Jesus having to drag the cross for his crucifixion level of dragging. Like, I'm a smut reader. 100% through and through, I'm a smut reader. But we got to a point where I just said, can I have plot? Like, we spent how many chapters describing them hooking up? With, like, no point to it. None.
Comfortable.
Every time it just was like, he's so big, I can't take him. Oh, she's so amazing. She's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was
and I just like and then she goes, "Will you stay with me?" And I just went,
"Yeah, yeah." It's one of those things.
This was not what.
It's one of those things, and I think I say it for every episode. That I'm not the largest fan, where I'm just like, I'm not the audience for this. So I mean it with absolutely zero disrespect to the author. It's just, I'm not the audience for this. So it was really,
but I am. This was something when I read the back of it and I said, this is up my alley.
I actually am a little mad at the blurb. Like, multiple times reading the book, I was like, I'm so mad at the blurb. I remember we read the blurb, the description, and I was like, oh, dope. And that's like not what it was at all.
I felt lied to. Like, it literally was like when the food smells better than it tastes.
Ugh, that's so annoying. Because then, yeah. I think it's even, I think it's more outrageous than that.
Under-delivered.
Yeah, yeah, I was very uncomfortable reading this book, like, into the fact where this is actually the first book that I officially DNF'd for the podcast. I did not finish it. I couldn't do it.
I'd like to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. So I'll just take you through the rest of it, because I don't know where you DNF'd.
Oh, no need. So I don't know if you guys have seen previous episodes. So for me, officially DNFing is I'm stopped, but I will skim through to know what happens. And of course, because of the podcast, I wanted to make sure I had a clear vision so I could speak to it. So I officially stopped on page 81, chapter 11, Stocking Stuffer. But I know
nothing about what that means. What does that mean?
If anyone wants an exact point of where I gave up. And then I skimmed through the rest of the book.
You do this thing where you tell me chapters as if they're supposed to mean something to me.
Page 81.
Give me landmarks.
Chapter 11. Okay. And then so I skimmed through the whole rest of the book so I know what's going on and whatever. Like I said, to have a coherent conversation for the podcast. I really tried to make it through for you guys, but it was one of those things that was just like the entire time I was just like, this isn't really enjoyable. And then I was kind of just like, I gotta choose me. I gotta
put me first, Lucius. I gotta put me first.
Exactly. So I was kind of just like, I love y'all, but I can't do it. Tap it out.
So where you left off is in the middle of them hooking up for the indecent proposal, which is essentially he promised to pay off her whole house if he could have one night.
Yeah.
Which, I'm going to tell you right now, Eve, you undersold yourself because Robert Redford was offering way more to Demi Moore, all right?
Okay, even that in and of itself, I was really frustrated because I was like, this is like such a cheap offer. And you're like, oh, I'm good for it. Bro, $200,000, I better hope so. Like, $1 million. Like, what? Yeah, so I'm also, like, even annoyed with her. I would have been like,
transfer the money now. Why am I supposed to trust the person who broke into my house to do it after he gets what he wants?
You're right. You could have, because he absolutely could have issued something via app, he got numbers, call somebody, and then it would have been enacted after the holiday, but the process would have already started. Absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah, I will say this. The one part that I genuinely enjoyed is a strong word, but like the one interaction I really liked was the caterer. That's like the one interaction I like really liked.
Funny because she comes back up in later chapters.
Oh, I know. I was skimming.
So I like the elevator scene didn't feel long in the moment until other things started to drag for me. And then there's the lie that does not come with a payoff for me whatsoever. So after everything happens, our intruder throws out her birth control and gives her a vitamin B tablet, essentially, and lies to her about it. And I went, I'm not surprised because you did break into her house, but continue on, sir. Also, question for you. Did you figure out that this was Adam at this point?
I knew it was Adam from the beginning. That's why I was a little shocked that he never took his mask off. Because she said it was his smell. He smelled the same as the elevator guy. Also, who's replicating them shoulders like that?
I just wanted to double check. Sometimes you don't be picking up what they.
You're right. Sometimes I'd be completely lost until they tell me. No, I knew he was in.
Yeah, you said that's
Jump.
so arrogant.
I knew it was him from Jump. And then it was just like confirmed later on when he showed up to the house and she was shocked. And I was like, girl, you shocked? Okay. It is interesting though, because I never put it two and two together until you said it, that it's Adam and Eve. Like that never occurred to me. The name thing. I was like, oh.
I was like a couple of pages in and I just went, wait a minute. Wait.
Never even put two and two together the entire time.
So I then started to get confused when the next day the caterer shows up with Christmas food,
Mm-hmm.
and then he shows up like she's not going to slam the door in his face, and starts talking about how they're mates, and she just goes, "Let's cuddle on the couch and watch Christmas movies." Ma'am.
I just feel like, for me personally, I just feel like I couldn't disassociate. I couldn't suspend disbelief enough to be like, yeah, this is possible. I just could not do it. I could not do it.
It felt like it was Stockholm Syndrome, but it was too early for Stockholm Syndrome. And
Yes!
then I just went, okay. So,
like, even when she was kind of saying, like, oh, like, for you to come back after, like, what happened, and he's like, well, I didn't do that. I was like,
at this point, it felt like the snowball was tipping down the hill, and it just started running away.
So it's interesting because at this point, so by the time the caterer came around, I read the entire exchange with the caterer in terms of her being like, oh, this is your first alpha boyfriend, like, prepare for this,
right.
And yada yada yada. So at this point, I was skimming. I thought it was very interesting because then things progressed, I guess, as normal as they would in that type of situation.
No.
But at the same time, it was like,
no.
Girl, this stuff I don't know what be happening.
I'm sorry. That was not at you. That was just frustration at this book.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I'm gonna be very honest. You know how a couple episodes back we were talking about how people were just skimming paragraphs because it was too many words?
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end of this, especially the epilogue, I skimmed.
Interesting.
Like, I read, like, I would say I read 99% of this book.
That's right? Valid. Uh-huh.
It just got to a point where she didn't even call him out for switching out her birth control.
She called him and was like, get home right now. And he was like, oh, I don't know why she's mad at me. And I was like, sir, you should absolutely know why she's mad at you. And then, like, it felt like she like kind of gave him the threat, or like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna keep it. And then it was kind of like, that's it. Then she was just like a housewife.
It literally felt like a book on mind control. It wasn't.
Ooh.
Like, he literally did everything to control her, and not in like
so manipulative.
It was like, listen, I could delulu with the best of them, okay? I have read some things in this world. But when I tell you, there wasn't enough delulu, all right, to keep my therapist in business for the next century, okay? The way this man said, I'm gonna just convince her to move into my apartment, my penthouse. I'm sorry, sir. Then locked her in there with a guard at the front door and said, you can't go outside.
You can't leave.
And then said, if you want fresh air, there's the balcony. And then on top of that, you tricked her into pregnancy. Mm-hmm. She wasn't sure if she wanted to keep it or not. You didn't give her that choice. You weren't even honest about the fact that you switched her birth control. Mm-hmm. Because I've read books like that before. S.J. Tilly has written one, and it worked out fine for me in here. And then we just, like, her family's okay with everything that's going on. Like, we're having holidays with the cute baby. It's everything. And then,
even with that, like, you have all the beautiful wrap up of, like, getting past all these things relationship wise. Like, they're together. She's in the, like, they're all hunky dory. And then all of a sudden it's like this weird, uncomfortable plot twist of his brother.
Let's also not forget the weird moment on the couch where he also wanted to breastfeed.
I forgot
Which, like,
about that.
Here's the thing.
Okay, hold on. Logistically speaking, that is not the worst thing ever, especially for nursing women. It can actually be a huge relief. But, like, it was weird because it was, like, psychological for him. And that was the part that made me uncomfortable. He was like, I didn't have a mom, so I'm going to just piggyback off my son's meal.
Because
what
here's
are
the
we
thing.
doing?
If it was he tipped the bottle over by accident and just, like, licked the back of his hand where the milk spilled, I could have let it go. If he was just curious about what it tasted like, it had, like, a little dropper, could have let it go. If they were stuck somewhere and she was in pain and he was just trying to help her express it, could have let it go. But the fact that he said, I never had a mom to experience this with, and now she's like, now I can take care of both of my men. What?
Yeah, I feel like everything that I skimmed from the rest of the book completely validated me stopping. I was like, I'm so glad I, like, stopped when I did. And I was like, honestly, I feel like I read more than I ever would have because of the podcast. Because
I feel like I have to now give our listeners and our watchers better alpha books for them to go read. Like,
that's valid.
Better werewolf books and better Omega verse books, because I literally just sat here going, oh, and Jay, you know it takes a lot for me to get there.
So wait, he is a werewolf?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I missed that in the pretense somewhere. Okay. I guess that makes more sense now? Nah.
Are you done with the nonsense?
Sure.
Because at this point, guys, I'm gonna give you some options to read that are better than this.
I love this.
I
I like this.
Because
we're totally calling an audible, y'all, because, like, I didn't even know that we both didn't like this coming into this, but yeah.
Listen, it should have been a sign when I finished the book and sent you a voice note that said, listen, read the trigger warnings first, okay?
You were very adamant about that, and I did. It just...
So here are some books that I'm going to recommend to you guys if you watch this, or if you've read Nora Ash's book and said werewolves are not for me, okay? So number one, I'm going to tell y'all to read Shifters of Grey Ridge. It's a series by Reese Barden. I actually found this on, like, a Wattpad-esque website, and the first book I gave a 4 out of 5 stars, if that tells you anything. And then I continued to read like 5 more, and they are on my Christmas list, so no complaints there. It's all about alpha werewolves, all right? There's some other shifters in there. We got a bear shifter, lots of things for you to read, okay? Lots of spinoffs. Another one for all my Allie Hazelwood girls out there, go read Bride, all right? It's so good. Still gives you the Omega verse with the nodding. Go read it. Trust me. I was like, I couldn't get ready for work because I couldn't put the book down. All right. Too good. All right. And then there's a third one that I'm somehow forgetting in this moment. But I literally had it on the tip of my tongue and I've now forgotten it.
It'll come back to you.
It will. But Jay, I think it's time for us to just rate the book.
I'd love it. Let's go.
What you rating it?
I don't think we're allowed to do zeros or negative ratings, so I think I have to go with 1.
I mean, 0 stars is 0 stars in your book.
Great. I've learned from doing the podcast, so I don't know if you know this, but I've actually never rated books before we started doing the podcast. That's not how I read and consume literature. Yeah, I feel like when I know the rating of the book before I finish it or stop reading it, it's not really a great sign. So it's a hard 0/1 for me. It is not for me. It was extremely just torturous reading experience. I did not enjoy it in any way, shape, or form. And I want to give the like asterisk, you know, we love our asterisks here, of like, it's just not for me. I will not be reading anything else from this author because I'm scared. Hard pass for me.
So, I remembered the third book that I was going to recommend. If you're looking for a supernatural book that literally gives you like 99% smut and 1% plot, Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert will give you that. It is vampires and not werewolves, but literally it is, like, I read it and just said, can I have some plot with my smut? So we're not hating on like novellas or short books that are mostly smut. It was just that this one was written in a way that did not appeal to us, neither one of us, and that says a lot because we do not read the same outside this podcast.
Yeah, and I will say this, I think the only reason why I'm so comfortable with sharing my such displeasure for this book is because I want people that are readers like me to understand, like, just don't do it. Like, Chelsie and I read different books, and I think that's one of the things that makes our podcast, like, interesting and our conversations interesting. But I also feel like sometimes, like, with having reviews, you have the responsibility of, like, your opinion being what someone does or doesn't read a book for. And to that, I'm just going to say, if you are a person that appreciates my side of the book preferences, do not touch this book. Like, don't do it.
And if you're on my side of the preferences, I'm just saying there are better options out there. You can give it a shot. If you're like me, sometimes this feels like a challenge, you know? Let me go see about it for myself. If you're one of those people and you finish it and you just go, dang, I should have listened, go read the books I recommended, okay? Those are better options. And while I'm at it, I gave it a 1. I read it in one day and immediately said 1 star, which is technically for my DNF'd books, which, like, in some ways I feel like I did DNF because come the epilogue, I said, we're not doing this, okay? And in the epilogue, she started a whole new story, which we already know.
Which we already know.
It's one of my pet peeves.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm sorry, Nora. There was no winning me over with this book. I don't even know if I'll go back to see what your other stuff is like. If you ever come across this.
Is this your first Nora Ash book?
Yes.
I'm scared. I couldn't even finish the book, y'all. Like, I can't do it. I cannot do it.
I feel like she Acacia'd us, you know? She's a villain. She's a villain in my book.
For me, it's the blurb that just really frustrates me because we're very, like, intentional of the books that we pick for the podcast, and we were both like, yeah, green light for this book based off of the blurb, and it was just so not what it was. I felt like I was reading the redacted files of, like, a case of some sort, and I just was like, this is terrifying. So, yeah, no, not for me.
I'll say this, guys, just to wrap all this up. I'm going to add the books that I suggested to my shelf on bookshop.org. Go ahead and click the link below. Check out those books, all right? Some of them are even on Kindle Unlimited for you to enjoy, all right? Yes. Come back. Tell us what you think. If you've read this book, Holiday Intrusion by Nora Ash, tell us if you felt the same way below, or if, you know, maybe we just read it through a different lens than you, okay? Because I'm really intrigued to see what other people's thoughts are. I didn't even bother to look at the ratings, so I'm intrigued. Normally, I don't look at book reviews, but I am intrigued to see what people say about this one. In the meantime, don't be Ashlee this Christmas. Don't be an Acacia. And, you know, spread some joy in the world. How about that? Go out there and be good people.
Choose you.
Come back for the season finale.
Yes. We're excited.
We got a little something special in the works.
Oh, now I remember the surprise. Okay, yeah.
An hour later.
Yeah, it just came to me, yeah.
Before I become a villain in my own podcast story, I'm going to sign off, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here, and we will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
Bye.